Good evening. Marcus C. Williams here. And if hopefully you can hear me. So we're doing a little bit different things. But let's talk some news and current events. Boy, it's a happy freezy Friday out here in the Northeast in Rochester, New York. It is currently -1 degrees. That's right. -1 degrees. I mean, boy, it couldn't be much warmer if it tried, right? I don't know who authorized it to be -1 degrees, but I'd like to have a word with their superior. Anyway, so we've got a whole bunch of great stuff that's been going on, and by great, I mean absolutely terrible. You wonder why you look at the news and you turn on the television and people feel disheartened about what's going on in the world. And the honest thing is between the people that are in control of the world as a whole and our actual federal and state governments, depending on where you are. Some states are better than others, but I'm in New York State, so it's not so bueno here. There's a whole bunch of crazy commotion going on. Hopefully, this year works out better than the previous couple of years, because what's been going on the last couple of years just ain't going right. Let's jump right into it. So today, I don't know if you guys have seen we've got these crazy weather balloons. Well, they're not even weather balloons, right? And this is what makes it worse. We've got balloons floating all across the country from China, with love from China. Ooh. So I don't know who thought that it was a good idea to let these balloons get into our geographic region, but apparently the federal government doesn't want to do anything about it. Joe Biden, our president currently of the United States of America, has decided not to shoot them down. He says because he doesn't want anybody down on the ground to be hurt. I had to sit with that for a minute because, I'm like, shoot it down. Shoot it down, shoot it down, shoot them down. Because why the heck are you letting these balloons, which are very clearly spy vehicles, to spy on our nation, over our nation's territory, in our airspace? Like things come into our airspace, you shoot them out into airspace. That's how things generally work. So I was sitting there and I was thinking, why would he say that? I mean, because he's a crazy kooky old man, because he's not all there in the cabeza, And I said, you know what? Maybe that's not it. What it is at all. Maybe one, because remember, these things are right now over like Missouri and Minnesota and stuff like that. And I thought maybe one, the debris, because apparently they're 3 school buses long, so they're pretty sizable. And that type of, I guess you would call it debris falling from, near space would end up impacting people very hard if it were to hit their houses or stuff like that. Now, here's what's interesting about that. I found it could be possible that these things could be carrying nuclear stuff, right? Like you're like, oh, well, Marcus, it couldn't possibly be carrying nuclear bombs or whatever. First of all, it could be carrying nuclear material because, China, not so nice people, right? As far as the country, nation, and their rulers go, Xi Jinping and the CCP. I mean, honestly, it would make sense if they put that in there. So then we blow it up, and then now we've got all of this raining down of nuclear debris all across the continent and stuff like that. Because not only is it being found here in actually the United States of America, we've got it up in Canada too, apparently, and down in Latin America as well. So China's just pushed a whole bunch of spy stuffy goodness all across the great Americas. It's insane. It really is. Something needed to be done about this before they even entered our airspace. Come to find out, Joe Biden actually knew about this on Tuesday. Here it is Friday. And, this morning is when people started to find out about these balloons, which China is saying is weather balloons, but our military says are definitely spy vehicles. So why wouldn't the military blow them up when they were over the ocean, before they even came into our area? Why? I have so many questions. you know, if they do have nuclear material. And I'd like to point out that no, the government hasn't said they have nuclear material or anything dangerous on board. I just know that I don't trust China, and China doesn't miss a beat to try to do something outrageous that is beyond cognition of most people when it comes to warfare and warcraft. And if I was them, that's what I would do. I think it's a very good plan. That's could be something that's actually going on. Now, when it comes to what's going on with those, we could have definitely eliminated those crafts before they even came into our airspace or before they came over land. Why didn't we do that is the question. If we had, even if they do have nuclear material or whatever, it wouldn't, the fallout would not be that bad if we got rid of them before they hit our actual zones over the water where well, you know, you got to let it enter your airspace first, where our zones for the water, our economic zones actually start. I believe it's 210 miles. Don't quote me on that, but I'm fairly confident it's 210 miles off the coast of what your economic zone is. So we could have been blown it on. Why? Why would we let them come over our land? That just doesn't seem like competent leadership. It doesn't seem like competent strategy by the military. I mean, maybe they know something more than you and I. Maybe they know something more than I'm reporting, but it doesn't really seem like it. And let's be honest, if we're going based on the way that both the military and what's his name? The oh my goodness, his name, the black guy, Lloyd Austin, who is the head of the military right now. I just can't stand him, not even a little bit. I think he's absolutely horrendous as far as his job performance has been and the choices and decisions that he's made in his position. Because he's done a lot of things that I don't agree with. The mandates, for one, the what is it? The anti-hate courses that are based in what you would call genderist stuff. It's concerning, but we're not talking about that right now. But yeah, Lloyd Austin, I'm not very confident in his ability to run Department of Defense. You know, also, I'd like the Department of Defense to change the name back to the Department of War. I feel like that's much more amply fitting for America and the way that we operate. But moving forward onto some more President Biden leadership stuff, right? So we've seen all of this stuff go around being pulled out of his old think tank, which his offices were at. We've seen him pulled out of his house. They just raided his other house the other day. Well, not raided. The FBI visited and went in and explored his house, right? Because it's not a raid, even though they probably should be raiding some of these places. I'm sure that Biden's people are hiding a lot of stuff. I mean, why wouldn't they? This makes them look very bad. And it's concerning that we keep finding more and more documents that Biden has from his time as a senator and from his time as vice president, because it's not like it's today. It's not like these documents just came out of the White House today or came out of a classified mission briefing today. These things came out years ago. He hasn't been a senator in what? Trump was in office 4 years. He's been in office 2 years. That's 6 years. He was vice president for what? 8 years. So you got 6 plus 8. That's 16 years. 16 years. Some of these documents that are classified in secret level clearance have been in his possession, and he's talking about he doesn't know that they're there. Then he's got the stuff from when he was vice president, which again could be anywhere from 16 years to 8 years ago. So he's had these things for some time, just lying around, just kicking around. You know, it's very interesting that this is happening right now. And apparently he knew right before the election happened, and nobody reported it, not the DOJ, not the FBI, or Biden and the White House themselves. So it makes you really wonder when it comes to stuff like that. At the same time, and I'd like to step back a second, at the same time that these weather balloons, right, that these spy balloons are flying over the U.S., they were sent over here Tuesday, right? Now, Anthony Blinken, our Secretary of State, who I'm not fond of that guy either, he just reeks of ineptness. I mean, you should see this. I don't know if you guys really pay attention to what they talk about as far as the Secretary of State and the meetings and stuff that they have. But the stuff that he just says is just like, it's just like, dude, are you clocked in today? It's like, is your brain absent from your head? And that's, I'm not saying that as like, I'm trying to insult him. I'm saying that as a competency thing. I'm saying that as a priority level thing, because either you're terrible on purpose or something's wrong, you know? So, and I don't want to default on he's terrible on purpose, but who honestly knows? Who honestly knows? And that's something that we really need to be looking into, because we've got Mayorkas, who is the head of the border at the southern border. Okay, he's the head of the Department of Homeland Security. Biden's administration just said that they are going to deny him from being subpoenaed denied him from speaking to the committees in the House of Representatives that are doing stuff on the border, trying to figure out what's going on the border and doing some investigations there. So the Department of Homeland Security said, no, he can't actually speak. We're not going to let him. Why not? Why not let him speak on the border, which the border is his job, right? I saw, this is interesting. I saw, what's her name? Oh my goodness, I can't even remember her name. But let me actually tell you, because I don't want to give you faulty information. So I saw, who did I see here? Let's see, because I was watching these people in Congress, because I like to know what's going on, and I'm sure that you do too. And you watch these people, and they just say very interesting things. It's House of Representatives Zoe Lofgren. Wow, that's a heck of a name, Lofgren. She's a Democrat from California, and she's like, oh, well, this and oh, well, that. And I mean, it was just very interesting, because she says that the border is important, but it's not that serious. Then Adler, I'm not able to stand that dude, because his policies are just so, how can I say it in a nice way? Counterintuitive and against the priorities of the United States, the way in which they should be, to uphold the prioritization of the United States citizens. And he had the nerve to say, oh, there's nothing wrong with the border. The border's not open. And if we were to do anything, we should actually do something about the immigration, right? Interesting. We had another Democrat, Representative Lou Carrera, Democrat from California. He said something very interesting. He said, you know, with the border and immigration, we haven't had comprehensive immigration reform since we had that last great president. And and it's funny, right? It's funny that this Democratic gentleman, Lou Carrera, said this. He said, for 35 years, we haven't had anything to do with comprehensive not prison reform. I want to talk about that too, but comprehensive border reform. And the last time that we did, it happened to be a Republican president. Now, the funny thing is the president who it was a Republican. And he said, oh, they're so great. They were great president, and they did all this great stuff. I found that to be humorous. I found that to actually show something of a recognition for the actual way that government should work, right? Like, here he is, a Democrat, and he's saying that Ronald Reagan did great things. It's just amazing. You know, you don't generally hear people in politics speak that way about somebody from another party. So big up to Lou. Big man, I like the cut of your jib. Keep it up. Now, aside from the border and the border crisis, we've got all of these illegal aliens in New York City now, and they're all up in nice, swanky hotels. Most of them are single men. So there was this hotel, and I wish I had the video. I could play it for you. I'm still working on trying to figure out how to run them through this system. But there's a video of this guy, and he's like, listen, man, we're not leaving this hotel because they want to put us in this building. It's cold there. They've got cots. They don't have nice beds, and they don't have nice bathrooms. And they're like, we're not leaving the hotel unless they give us our own houses and stuff like that. And I'm like, this entitled mother sucker, you can go back to Venezuela where the hell you come from. Okay. And that's a fact, bro. You trying to come up here, demand that we give you stuff? You're not from here. We got all these homeless people out here. It's -1 degrees right now, and we got homeless people out on the street. We just had 6 people freeze to death the other day, 2 days ago. You understand what I'm saying? Which doesn't include the people that died in the snowstorm a couple weeks ago. This is out of control. These people come to our country. They say that they want everything. They have no right and no entitlement to anything from our nation. They're lucky we gave them anything. But this is the problem. This is the problem of the conceptualization of the Democrats who are putting these policies into effect. Who put them in swanky hotels? You're not supposed to do something like that, because then they're going to get used to it. Now you've trained them that this is the quality of life they should have. No, they should not, because we don't even have rooms for our people who are veterans that are homeless. You understand what I'm saying? Like, this is it. Have you ever been to New York City? Like, I got a lot of family and stuff down there. If you go down to New York City, it's homeless everywhere. Don't even get me started. I got a lot of stuff to say on it. The mental health crisis that has been spurred on, and I'm not very big on mental health. I believe that most of the mental health issues are really behavioral health issues across the nation, especially when they talk about children or they try to refer it to young adults. But when we're talking about the mental health crisis in the homeless population, we're really talking about people whose brains have been drug-addled. And I don't even honestly know how you fix that type of a situation to even call it mental health, right? Because the first thing that you have to do is you have to get them off the drugs. But now you've got all of these free shoot yourself up centers and fill yourself with all types of drugs and all kinds of extra type of drug activity going on, because this is the policies that are being implemented by the Democrats. And it's very concerning. You should look at California as a great example. You know, it's scary. It's very concerning. We also, and let's take an example of those injection sites, right? Let's talk about Vancouver, the first place for safe injection sites ever, right? In the North America, okay? The first place, right? And they're like, oh, well, we've helped people not overdose because we gave them a safe place to do the drugs. Excuse me? You sound crazy. So now here's the thing about Vancouver. Since they implemented that policy, the drug-related deaths in that area have gone up 900%. I'm going to say that again because that bears noting. The drug, and I laugh when I say it because I laugh to keep from crying. The drug overdose, the drug-related deaths in the area of Vancouver have gone up 900% since they introduced safe injection sites, you know, because they're not really safe. They're only promoting crime and violence, and they're giving a safe marketplace to drug dealers because now you can deal these people drugs, you know. It's very concerning, and they're trying to implement those policies here in Rochester, where I am. There's been one person that's been very vocal on that, Rachel Barnhart. I cannot stand her policies, and she knows that her policies are no good. That's why all of her policies that she promotes are the ones that impact my type of a community, impoverished communities, underserved communities, Black and brown communities, because that's not where she lives. She doesn't give a fuck. But she wants to put safe injection sites in our neighborhood as if we don't have enough drugs and stuff in our neighborhood, as if we don't have enough prostitution. You know, I just saw some guy outside the other day who he thought he was kung fu fighting. I swore I heard Carl Douglas in my head. Oh, ho, ho, everybody was kung fu ting. Anyway, it's insane, right? Like, the policies and the priorities are out of whack with reality in the direction that we're going. And speaking of terrible policies and misleading stuff from government officials, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Project Veritas. Project Veritas is you would call them an investigative journalist reporting outlet. We don't have many investigative journalists anymore. That's not really a thing. So I figured today is what, Friday. So a couple days ago, maybe a week ago at this point, they released some video footage of a person that worked for Pfizer. And I'm going to do my best to say these things so that they don't try to pull down my video, because the censorship is real, which we'll talk about that later in this episode. So here's the deal. The Project Veritas thing, originally the report came out that those, the things that you know the things. Anyway, that those the things, actually, they're working on mutating the COVID-19 virus to make it more deadly, to make it more, what would you consider it, pathogenic, more easily transmissible, more deadly, stuff like that. Basically, gain of research function is what they're doing. Pfizer, yeah, this was last week, right? Because it was Friday that they released that, I think that. So that came out, I want to say that was last Tuesday. And then they came out 2 days later with a response Pfizer came out with, and Pfizer's response said, yeah, no, we're not actually doing that. We're hiring outside contractors to do that. So it's not actually us that are doing the gain of function research on the COVID-19 things. And they called it something else, directed mutation or directed evolution. I think that's what it was. Directed evolution was what they called it. It's very, very interesting. And this is something that they released. This was in a press release that Pfizer released. They're saying that they did this stuff. So don't pull me down off the internet for telling what it is, you guys. Come on now, because the censorship is out of control. But now Project Veritas released a new video last night, which had one of the people talking about that works for Pfizer, talking about how you guys might remember this. Remember when they would tell women that they're crazy if they think that their menstrual cycle is changing because of those, the things, the things. And they would tell women, they would gaslight these women and tell them, no, you're crazy, you're hysterical. And remember, hysteria is a very interesting word, because hysteria, hysterectomy, it all goes back to the reproductive system in a woman. This is what we would now consider a derogatory term, right? Because everything's derogatory now. So if there was a derogatory term, that is an offensive term. You're telling the women that they're hysterical, that they don't know what they're talking about, that they're not experiencing a change to their menstrual cycle or whatever, because they got the things, It's absolutely outrageous. So they said that it affects the, oh my goodness, and I don't want to say it wrong, and I forget the chemical, but it's the chemical that the pituitary gland and the pituitary gland and the hippocampus? No, that sounds not right. Hypothalamus produce. That's what it is. So it's the hypothalamus and the excuse me, yes, words today, right? It's like, and the pituitary gland, they produce these chemicals that actually impact the women's reproductive cycle, their actual ability to reproduce. And an interesting thing that was said in this expose was they're actually causing women to, to menace. Basically, it's causing people that are women that are past their period time to actually bleed again. Okay, which is very interesting. I forget how you pronounce it. It's like menes. I think it's menens, because it's like menstrual, but it's MEN, and you can look it up. MENSES. Okay, and it basically means to bleed or whatever the case is. So it's making women that have already passed their ability to have their periods bleed again. This is a very interesting thing. Now, we know that it affects the reproductive system. We know that it's causing issues with people's ovaries and stuff like that. And it's interesting because the science, and this is the science, okay? YouTube or whatever, because you guys like to have feelings and stuff. This is the actual science. From the science released by the WHO and the CDC and people, we know that the mRNA stuff likes to all go into the spleen and the liver. The spleen, number one, and number two is the ovaries. Number three is the liver. So the spleen and the ovaries. So this is very, very interesting. We've also had reports, and this is something that is interesting with this new expose, because we know there have been reports of people losing their babies and having miscarriages after getting the things. So this is very, very, very concerning. And this is stuff that's not being addressed at all. Okay. And honestly, if you guys follow me at all, you guys know I've been on this since day one, completely continuously censored, because I continue to speak up against the nonsense and the very clear issues that are going on and the actual science. Like, it's like people talk about the science, but they don't actually read or watch the science, So they say whatever they want, unless you're Dr. Fauci and he is the science. Ooh, that's a whole nother crazy nonsense thing there. And speaking of those, the things. So they sold it real hard in Thailand, right? So the other day, the princess of Thailand went into a coma. This is about 3 weeks ago. She went into a coma. And they told her father, the king, they said, oh, it's just a bacterial infection. So, it's a bacterial infection. Give her some antibiotics. She'll be okay the next day. And I'm being hyperbolic, maybe not the next day, but not too long after, right? But that's not what it was, because it was right after she got another, the thing. So it's very concerning that type of stuff is happening, and that it's gone so far that a private company, a private medical manufacturer, has had enough sway to sway the royals in another country and then try to mislead them. So it's interesting. They had another doctor who had been continuously canceled and stuff like that, and censored and stuff like that, went to the Thai royal family to explain to them, is say, hey, listen, went to their council, because they kind of got a military thing going on over there, like a half a military dictatorship that's run by the king. Anyway, so this guy went and talked to the people that are in power over there, the council underneath the king and stuff like that too. And he told him, he said, listen, here's all the evidence, the reports, here is all the information that you need. And they're like, oh my God, this is crazy. They were like, we're going to do something about this. We're going to take action over this. We're going to nullify the contracts that we've signed with Pfizer. Here's the thing, you guys. In America, you cannot sue Pfizer, Moderna, biotech, none of them. Can't sue any of them. You know why? Because these things still to this day have not been authorized for use. They've been authorized for emergency use. Now you got a whole bunch of doctors coming out talking about, oh, we're not getting any more of those, the things or anything until there's peer-reviewed clinical research. Where were you at the beginning of this, you guys? Where were you at the beginning of this? We know all of this stuff wasn't done. Now you're talking about something? Man, listen, and we're on what? Shot 4 or 5? It's hard to keep track. Now they're talking about they want us to take them every year. It's out of control. It's out of control. I got a lot to say on it. I don't want to talk about it because I got to be careful what I say, because they'll try to get me off the internet, which is a big, serious issue, right? Like we saw what they've done with Twitter and all of the Twitter files that have come out. If you're not familiar with the Twitter files, since Elon Musk took over Twitter, he's been working on cleaning house, and he released all these documents showing the collaboration and the coordination by the federal government to limit your right of freedom of speech on the platform. We also know that this thing transitions also into Facebook, which if you're on Facebook, they do it even more. Okay. And Instagram is still run by Facebook. Okay. Because they call it Meta now. It's the same thing. It's just new name for their parent company. Now, here's an interesting fun fact. So the other day I put a post on Facebook, and and before I put the post on Facebook, I wanted to quote this guy that people don't like, because he was the head of these people that did terrible things. And I wanted to post this paraphrasing of this guy who did these terrible things and ran these terrible people, which did a lot of stuff overseas to a lot of places across the globe. And I wanted to quote that in reference to the way that our government is behaving right now, because the quote basically was talking about how what you want to do is you want to make sure that you take the guns away from people that would possibly oppose the government, but specifically minorities in certain parts of the population, to make sure that they're not able to do anything. And you want to get rid of the police force, the local police organizations, which is what we're seeing in America right now. This is what the government is doing right now. So Facebook was like, you can't quote that. I said, now, like I said, I was originally going to paraphrase it, but I had to go on. I went to Snoops to see if they were going to try to mark my thing up or whatever the case is. And Snoops said, you can't post it like that because it's mixed. It's not, we can't prove that he actually said that. Here is this book, and here is the quote from the book that was said that he said it. And this is the quote that's actually the full quote. So I posted the full quote. Facebook got mad. And I'm like, Facebook, but I checked Snoops, and Snoops said, this is what I should do instead of doing that, because this isn't it. And they're like, no, you can't do it, because we don't want anybody to get the information out there. And you know, it's interesting because the people that they have monitoring this aren't actually people, it's their AI, which goes back into, this is what has happened since the 2016 election, because they've been working in coordination with the government and other world governments across the world to preserve the international order, you know, basically Western European power. Okay. And the people who are in those powerful positions, they want to keep them there, and they want to keep things going the way that they've got it, where they're the ones that are able to control everything. It's absolutely abhorrent. And I don't give a care. I can't talk about anybody else in another country or whatever the case is. I could, but I'm not. But I'm talking specifically about America. We have rights, liberties, and freedoms, which are enshrined in our Constitution, which are stated very clearly in the Declaration of Independence. We have things that are integral to our society, which the government has been trying to strip away. It's not good. No bueno. No bueno at all. So it's crazy that they use their AI system to do it too, which is beyond me, because I've had run-ins with their AI system before. It's like their AI has an issue with me or something. It's because I'm like, listen, I didn't say nothing. Like, I say stuff. Oh my goodness, if you guys follow me, I say stuff. I really say stuff. But whenever I get dinged or something, I didn't even say anything. And then it'll say, our technology says that you said something wrong. Our technology says that you said something wrong. Your technology is extremely biased and is clearly trying to attack me and has been sat upon me. Okay? It's a problem. It's a problem, and we need to really go into this, and we need to really address these things. But people are not speaking up in the way in which we need them to, the people that are supposed to be our representatives for government, right? Well, we already know how the Democrats feel about many things. We saw with the removal of Ilhan Omar, okay, who is, as far as I'm concerned, has no right to be in the House of Representatives, but that's a personal feeling. That's not a fact. That's not the way the Constitution is written. So I gotta kind of stand up for her ability to be in the House of Representatives, whether I like it or not. But she's a piece of crap. Okay, I said what I said. I don't care how you feel. She is, because she's done said some crazy stuff over the years. She's very anti-Israel. That's a very serious problem, because they're a very strong ally of us in a part of the world in which we do not have very strong allies. So that's number one. Number two, she loves the fact that on September 11th, they destroyed our buildings and killed all our people. Because what did she say? On September 11th, something happened that day. Can't stand this woman. You understand what I'm saying? Like, and I don't want to really go after her and how terrible she is right now, but I just want to point out that she was removed from her committee on foreign relations because she shouldn't be on there at all because of the stuff that she said. And not only that, but she's compared our military to being the Taliban, okay, or to being terrorists. She's called our military, our soldiers, terrorists. Now, if that doesn't say that she shouldn't be on any committee, more or less the Foreign Relations Committee, whatever the case is, I don't know what to tell you. Then AOC decided to get up on the stage in the House of Representatives, and excuse me real quick, get up on the stage in the House of Representatives, and she decided that she wanted to be a black preacher. I want to go after her for cultural appropriation. Can we get her on that? Because she's jumping up and down and I swear to goodness, like I couldn't make a better. Like, I'm not making a joke. This was her behavior and her movements. If you go watch the video, oh my goodness, am I spot on? Okay. But the concern here is they're saying that this is retaliation for what they did to the Republicans. Now, when they removed these Republicans off of the committees, it was unjustified. Okay. It was unjustified for them doing this. Now, that's not just a personal opinion. I could go into it deeper on why and the issues behind it, but we're not going to go into that. And they didn't just remove them off of one committee, like Ilhan Omar is being removed off of one committee. So they removed them off of all of their committees. Okay. And then this girl had the nerve to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was one of the people that they pulled off of the things. And it's not that she was talking about Marjorie, because I know everybody doesn't like her or whatever the case is. That's neither here nor there. But she brought up, oh, she was talking about Jewish space lasers, whatever the case is. First of all, let's pause right there. And first of all, let me tell you a little bit about me, my background, before you feel some type of way, because everybody likes to be so offended. I consider myself to be, I don't hide that I'm a Christian. I consider myself to be an Old Testament Christian, okay? I believe more in the Old Testament than us supposed to follow the New Testament. No, I believe that we're supposed to follow the Old Testament. Jesus preached that we're supposed to follow the Old Testament. I know what he preached. You understand what I'm saying? So I would prefer to follow his teachings, which say follow the Old Testament. I'd prefer, if it was up to me, to be and practice Judaism. However, to practice Judaism the way that you're supposed to practice Judaism is expensive. So it's a lifestyle thing, and I gotta make more money so I can get in, so I can actually do that and practice the religion the way that we're supposed to be practicing the religion. But besides that, so going back to what I was saying, when she said that when AOC said that Marjorie Taylor Greene was talking about Jewish space lasers or whatever, she wasn't. What she was talking about is and I did a video on this before. It wasn't one of these, but it was something else I did, and I did a whole rundown of what it was about. It was actually a guy who funded this program. I think he donated invested $100 million in this project to beam solar energy from outer space back to Earth. So they put solar panels in outer space, and they're supposed to beam them back to Earth. I have concerns about that, because that could be used as a concentrated energy beam as a weapon. So that's a concern. But what Marjorie said is that there had been a misfire or a misdocking, I guess you would say, from the solar panel system array up in outer space to where it was supposed to beam the energy in California. And that miss set off some of the forest fires. I think she was attributing it to one of the larger forest fires. I can't remember which one off the top of my head, but it's a real project. It's been there, I want to say 2013, they started working on this project. So it's almost a decade they've been working on this project. It's a real live thing. It just so happened that the main investor happened to be a person who would be of the, what would you call it? Ethno-religious group of Jews. And I don't even know if he's a practicing, I don't even know if he's a practicing Jew. I have no clue, I know a lot of people who claim to be Jewish, and they violate the tenets of Judaism every day, and it's very frustrating to me. That's why I'm always working on myself being a better me, because I can't depend on people to be better them, but I can definitely work on being a better me and being a better influence to other people. It's very important to me. But regardless, so AOC was up there flailing about and stuff like that, and just acting all crazy, right? She looked like a what would you call it? Like a squirrel hyped off of methamphetamines. You know, is crazy. She's going wild, acting like she's a black preacher. Cultural appropriation, feeling some type of way. Anyway, so we've got a whole bunch of other issues that have been coming up in the news lately. So we've got the issue with the Hunter Biden laptop. I don't know if you guys saw that. So Hunter Biden filed a, I guess you would call it, he had his lawyer send some documents to the FBI saying, hey, I think that you should open an investigation into the mishandling of my laptop. Now, this is the first time that Hunter Biden has admitted that this is his laptop that they had. Hey, I see you there, brother. This is the first time that Hunter Biden has admitted that this is his laptop. And in his first thing that he admits it, he sends a letter to the FBI saying, oh, I think that they should be investigated for misusing my laptop and releasing my data. And they weren't supposed to do that. That was my private data. And the guy who I gave it to, who I never picked it up from, right? Because that was the whole thing. He never picked it up from the guy at the repair shop, which was a problem, even though the guy tried to reach out to him multiple times and it had been there quite some time. And then the guy called the FBI and they basically told him to stow it. And then he gave the information to some news reporters and stuff like that. And then the FBI came down and tried to ruin the man's life. So now all of a sudden, Hunter Biden, on the eve of them working to launch all of these committee investigations to things, including his laptop, is out there talking about, oh, well, you should investigate these people for mishandling my data and stuff like that. BS, man. BS. Okay? Because you're all the way dirty, bro. You did nothing clean about Hunter Biden. Bro, remember, this is a guy who banged his dead brother's wife and made her pregnant. And impregnated a stripper and then didn't want to take care of his baby. So it's like, this is not a good dude, right? Like, he do all the drugs and do all the crazy stuff and had the illegal firearms, which he wasn't supposed to be in possession of. Anyway, Hunter Biden ain't even clean. If he even tried to be, he could take 18 showers and he still wouldn't be clean. But the point of the matter is now it's very interesting, the time, and this looks like he's in his death throes, because that is like, you're grasping at straws there, really. But maybe because his daddy is the president, that he can wield that power over the DOJ to try to get him to do investigations and try to stifle the investigations that the House of Representatives is doing. It's just a crap show right now. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So I'd also like to talk about the crazy teacher shortage, which is out of control right now. We know there's a teacher shortage. I don't know where you live, but maybe a possible solution would be emergency temporary certificates for people to be able to participate as teachers that do not necessarily have the education to, at least for elementary and middle school level. I mean, honestly, let's be honest, high school level, most of those you don't need a degree for really to teach. It's not, you really need to just basically have a concept of how to engage with children and the youth in order to teach them the subject matter, which if you've ever been to school, you've seen teachers teach out of the books all the time. And many times you might have even complained about them teaching out of the books and not actually teaching you anything. But it's not a new thing. But something needs to be done about that, because we've got, our children are continuously going backwards. For the last 2 years, they've been locked out of schools. They've been locked in their houses. They've been taught to be antisocial. They've been falling into different bad stuff because they haven't been able to go out and be at school and stuff like that. Their educational, I guess you would call it, their retention of the stuff that they did learn, it's completely out the window. Completely out the window, because they just were out of school so long. And you know, summer vacation like kills whatever you learned. So imagine being out of school with all the crazy stuff in the world going on. And now there are no teachers to teach the kids. So kids are missing out on school all across the nation. Excuse me, all across the nation, and it's not going to end. It's only going to get worse. And I honestly have very limited solutions to it. My solution would be is hire people to teach that want to teach, that aren't necessarily teachers as far as certified teachers, because you got to have all this extra super education and years, and then that to me is just too much. It's too much. And that was before the teacher shortage, but that's a whole nother separate video. I just wanted to bring that up and make sure that I pointed that out, because there's schools across the nation where school districts are being shut down because they don't have enough teachers. So the kids have to go to other schools, which are still don't have enough teachers. And it's a very, very large problem if we do not address it soon. If we thought that these two generations that we have right now, is it two generations? Maybe it's one generation. I can't really tell anymore. Okay, but Generation Alpha is screwed. We can just write them off as ever having existed. I feel bad for them between the indoctrination and the lack of actual schooling and education, and the parentage, which I blame on my generation, because y'all done had these Generation Alpha kids and you letting them do whatever type of crazy nonsense, and you letting them being taught any type of crazy nonsense. Don't get me started. But I'd also like to go into go back to the homeless situation for a moment. Okay. We just got our county in Monroe County where I live. They just said that they're going to give some money to improve the we've got a thing not far from where I live. They call it Peace Village. Okay. They put all the homeless people there. So they moved the homeless people from over by what used to be Time Warner. Now it's Spectrum. Okay. Over by the hill, where they just magically happened to put a whole bunch of high-rise, high-cost, affluent people housing. They did that. And they kicked all the homeless out so that they can do that, so that they wouldn't have to look at the homeless. Because you know how the affluent people hate the homeless being around them. But they put them in my neighborhood because my neighborhood's an underserved and mostly black neighborhood, because they don't give a fuck about us. As if we didn't have enough violence and drugs and other issues as it was to begin with. And now they're talking about they're going to make it nicer for them to try to get more homeless people to be there and all types of craziness. It's a problem. It's a problem. In America, we've gone to a housing first prioritization as far as homelessness goes. There is no treatment for these homeless people. They've got all of these mental issues, mainly based on drugs. There is no detox for these people. And going back to the Vancouver example, since Vancouver opened up the safe injection sites, they've had only 1% of the people that go there have ended up going into treatment. Only 1%. That's absolutely terrible. That's not going to solve anything. So now we're doing the same thing here in America. We're doing the same thing literally in my backyard. And I'm being a little bit hyperbolic. It's not in my backyard, but it's down the street, around the corner, around the other corner, and up the street. Like, it's not very far. Like, I'm not able to throw a rock and hit it, but if I throw 3 rocks, one after the other, I'd probably be right about there. You know, I can throw pretty good too, but it's not far. You get the idea. A couple blocks. And it's a very serious issue. There are all types of man, listen, I'm not even going to go into it. Housing first is a bad thing. We need to focus on the mental health aspect of it. We need to focus on the drug rehabilitation services, because they're not getting the drug rehabilitation services that they should have. Matter of fact, I know a guy that just died over there, okay, in the homeless encampment about, what is it? It's January now, February. So that would have been back in December, November, late November. Sad, you know. Because the dude was all right. He was a veteran and stuff. It's just sad. This is where we are right now, because they don't want to provide the services that are needed to actually get these people off of drugs. I don't even want to really go into it because it makes me have feelings about the situation. It's just out of control what we're dealing with right now. You know, it's absolutely out of control between the poor priorities of our government and where we are right now. I wonder where we're going. Like this year, I'm going to do everything that I can to do my best, to be my best, and to move forward and move up higher and stuff like that. Because I need to make sure that I am going to be able to take care of myself in this impending collapse, which we are definitely seeing a collapse. They just released job numbers. I believe it said it was 517,000 jobs were created, and it's a little more than they actually expected to be created. But I don't believe their numbers. They said that unemployment went down to 3.4%. No way. No way. Absolutely no way. And here's the thing about the unemployment numbers. The unemployment numbers are all screwed up. The unemployment numbers do not count people who have never worked. They do not count people who are not on unemployment. So that is a massive amount of people under both of those categories individually, you know? So we really need to be figuring out right now how we're going to maximize our potential this year as far as the economy goes. Because if we don't, it might not be so hot in the next upcoming couple of years. We are looking at a very seismic shift between the way that AI is starting to get integrated into everything. We see that even at the World Economic Forum, they're talking about, oh, we're going to read your brainwaves. And you're going to be like, Marcus, you should talk more about that. Bro, they got a system that they're working on, and they're talking about that they're going to read your brainwaves at work and in the rooms that you're in and stuff like this. And it's absolutely insane. Absolutely. This is the stuff that they've said out loud. It's insane. It's insane. The direction that we're going in. And you look at AI, you look at things like Chat GPT. If you're not familiar with Chat GPT, you should go look it up. Chat GPT is like a machine learning AI type of thing that's not connected to the internet, but it looks like it's got all good amount of data up to about 2020, 2021. And it's concerning. If you play with it, you see what it can do, and it can do amazing things, honestly. Amazing things because of the amount of data that it has. And it makes you wonder what they're doing as far as monitoring stuff online with their technology and the AI that they use for things like Facebook. But anyway, back to Chat GPT. But that's going to cause a lot of people to lose jobs in the upcoming thing. So we need to be preparing now. We need to be making future-ready businesses. We need to be making future-ready people. And the educational system, as I said before, is failing our children. So it's going to be up to the parents. It's going to be up to the people that want to be entrepreneurs. It's going to be up to business owners to move, pivot, and make our way through what's going on with the economy during this period of immense upheaval. We had the Federal Reserve. They just raised rates again, man. They need to stop raising rates, stop raising the rates. People will say, oh, well, the Federal Reserve is just raising rates so that they can fight inflation. You guys don't understand how that works. The Federal Reserve is raising rates, okay, so that they can take money out of your pocket. They believe that the less money that you have, the less inflation will be. That is a faulty principle. That's not how any of that works, and they should know better because they're in this field. Allegedly, they have these positions. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. These are the people who run our country, and we just honestly deserve better. You deserve better. I deserve better. We deserve better. With that being said, you guys, I'm going to sign off for the evening. You guys catch me tomorrow. I got a couple of other things to talk about. And tomorrow I will be doing a business video and a regular normal live. I got some other stuff to talk about more on the local level. When I do the news and stuff, I mostly go and talk about subjects that are nationwide or international. And I didn't even really cover international right now. There's a whole bunch of other crazy international news going on, like Iran, one of their war factories being blown up in which they produce things. You've got Greece and Turkey really, really, really close to fighting right now. You've got the information that came out about Syria, where they didn't actually use any toxic or chemical weapons on their people, which was the whole premise of us going up and destabilizing their whole country, which was one of the most westernized Muslim nations where women didn't wear face guards, where women could drive, all types of stuff, all the stuff that you think in Iran that they can't do in Iran or they can't do in Saudi Arabia, they could do in Syria. And it's crazy that we did that. Okay, we did that. Our country did that for no reason, under false pretense again. And y'all keep going for the bullshit. Excuse my language. Y'all keep going for the okey doke. You know, the government keeps lying to us every single time that they decide that they want to go to war. We never get to take any new territory. So why are we going to war? Let them people be in their country and do whatever the hell they doing over there in their country. You know? But hey, that's just me talking. You know, I know I'm saying it, but it's true, right? Because if Zimbabwe decided tomorrow that they don't like how the US is operating and they said, "Oh, America, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. You can't do this, you got to do this." Americans would flip out. We would be like, "Who is Zimbabwe to tell us what the hell to do?" And that's what we do all across the world. Okay? America, world's police. It's insane. We got to do better as a nation. As a people, we need to demand better from our government. Our government is not just crushing down on us, they're crushing down on the rest of the world. But, you know, hey, I'm going to leave this on a happy note. Stay positive, because we are actually seeing some small victories against some of the crazy stuff that's going on in the world right now. We are seeing some very interesting things happen, and I'll take every small victory that we can get. So on that note, I'm going to catch you guys later. You be blessed, be well,